Ring, 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 hello, peasants and incels.
Seriously? After just what happened?
Yes, and welcome back to Krown's magical crypto cave.
Welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. I apologize for that extremely rude, extremely insulting introduction. I do not know who the hell that was, but I would like to wish you the best on this nice Tuesday or something, whatever day we're on right now. Anyways, we are still away from our battle stations, our regular battle stations, on the road traveling a bit. And but I did want to provide an update on the continuation of the short-term, medium-term, and higher-term time frame analysis from yesterday. Bitcoin did violate the pivot, and yesterday's video title was, "If this happens, run." And it happened. And what was that? That was a closure below 20,500, very likely be getting continuation back down to the mid-19s for a little bit of a bounce. And then probably the eternal range lows, which is kind of where I think we're at right now. Anyways, other than that, I wanted to once again remind you that this week is filled with cataclysmic events, if that's the right word. One of them is going to be today, U.S. midterms. That's going to be the 8th, Tuesday the 8th. And then we got CPI prints coming out a little bit later this week as well. So all the analysis is probably going to play into that. Before I move on, though, I do want to give a little bit of notice to Bybit's new promotion going on, seeing that we're all now peasants and poor, according to this unknown person next to me. They're offering actually $30,000 deposit bonus. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of fine print on that one, but check it out in the link in the description below if that happens to interest you. For myself, I prefer the 0% fees on maker orders, which the link still gets you as well. Anyways, let's I said almost dump into it. No, let's jump into it and pick up where we left off yesterday. So yesterday we were looking at anything below 20,500 on a closing basis as beginning major continuation to the downside. Bounce attempts at 20, 19.5, and probably then the 19s region. So we're already at the 19.5 region. Bitcoin trying for a little bit of a bounce, and I want to say that essentially as long as Bitcoin is below now $20,000. Risk remains to the downside, essentially. That is to say that if Bitcoin can reclaim $20,000, we give the benefit of the doubt to the Bulaws here and be looking for a little more sideways and probably another try to the upside. But ultimately, I think that that's rather unlikely to happen here. Although my opinion is not needed on these sorts of things. Price action is going to do what price action is going to do. Here are the things, however, that I think matter for the current moment and why 20,500 was such a big deal that we spoke about yesterday. Because below there, it does confirm this as a local high, not necessarily an island top, although quite close, but because it is now a local high, we have 1, 2, 3 drives of hidden bearish divergence on the daily, not just on the daily, but also on the 2-day time frame as well. 1, 2, 3, 4 drives actually. And then the 5-day time frame, which is actually closing tonight on CME, is going to have a chance to confirm a local high, which would be another lower high compared to the $25,000 high, which we saw in August or so. And 5-day RSI is already making higher highs here as well. So I do look at this as, risk to the downside, assuming that the 5-day closes basically anywhere below, especially $20,000. That'll do it for me. And that will very likely imply moves back down to the weekly eternal range lows here, basically somewhere around $19,000, maybe a little bit below there as well. Anyways, also on the daily, also what should be known on actually all higher term timeframes is volatility is fully contracted coming into these major events this week. So the 5-day BBWP is already at extreme lows. The 2-day time frame BBWP is already at extreme lows, and the daily BBWP is trending towards extreme lows as well. So we are looking at a very likely major move coming up here, probably catalyzed by these events coming up. Of course, if these events do if CPI prints come in and the market loves it, then throw all this analysis out the window. Obviously, there's no way for me to know what the reads on that is going to be, but ultimately, there are a lot of things here to be aware of. So not only do we have hidden bearish divergence here, but also on the daily jewel, it is not just only getting a downside signal here, but it is supported by DMI, assuming that closure maintains below, on a daily closing basis, below about $20,000. On top of that, the daily stochastic oscillator is going to be headed to the downside. If today's daily closes below 20,900 or so, the 12-hour time frame will also be headed to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 20,350. 6-hour time frame is also going to be headed to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 20,600. The 4-hour time frame is going to be also nosediving below 20,400, and the hourly is, come on, give me some hopium, baby. It's up right now, but it will cross to the downside with the closure below 19,377.37. So short-term timeframes, do they try for another bounce at 19,500? Perhaps yes. I think we're kind of already seeing that in progress here, as Bitcoin attempts to hold on to the 4-hour 200 simple here. But again, any bounce that fails to reclaim $20,000, I do look at that. It's just another failure before likely trading lower. Going back to the daily over here, putting on the drawing tools, you can see the eternal range lows and then also Bitcoin attempting this bounce off the 7864 right now. If the bounce, assuming that the bounce does fail, or assuming that the daily even just closes below 20,000 bucks, I would be looking for Bitcoin to very likely retest back down somewhere around this blue box territory, which puts it basically at 19,000, maybe slightly below there. But just like before, I really do refrain from calling any major continuation to new lows until we get a higher term time frame closure below these weekly range lows, simply because it can bounce many more times. To be fair, and it can take this can take a very, very long time to be, all things considered. So now that we've gone through that, I do want to reference this chart here. This is the 2-day time frame chart that we've been looking at for. I mean, it's kind of been on the radar for the last 2-3 weeks, maybe. About 2 to 3 weeks now. Anyways, on the 2-day time frame, there is another major signal building up. It's going to be the 2-day volatility versus stochastic momentum signature. Volatility represented by this moving part that my cursor is currently on. That's actually the volatility of stochastic momentum. And this is obviously the stochastic oscillator right here. Anytime that we've seen the volatility of stochastic momentum get to extreme lows, which has happened 10 prior times in the full history of CME, which is not great, to be fair. I mean, it's not a humongous sample size. Really want to be seeing hundreds of these. But it's the best we can do. The expansion phase from these extreme lows has led to an average move of about 39.5%, done over the course of about 3.5 weeks. And the stochastic also has been correct in getting the volatility expansion direction 8 out of 10 times, or 80%. So, pretty high probability. Gives us a good insight as to where things are likely to go if and when the signal does get confirmed. And we are starting to get some indications that volatility is, expanding from these extreme lows. I mean, this is one of the lowest levels it's ever been at. In fact, it's tied for the lowest level on the 2-day time frame. And it will turn to the downside if Bitcoin tomorrow, not today because it doesn't close today, but if tomorrow it closes below 20,670. If that happens, probabilities turn on to the downside. That's where I could really see things, potentially having a chance to actually break these eternal range lows. When I say the eternal range lows, I mean these weekly range lows here, which has a bottom area right around about 18,500. Start to see daily closures or higher term time frame closures below that level. Very likely we're going to see massively new lows. We start to look at those statistics as relevant towards that. Until then, I mean, that's more or less it. Short-term timeframes, do they try for a bounce, basically? I mean, definitely possible here. I don't really have strong opinions on that. My strong opinion is on $20,000 closing basis being of great importance. And as long as Bitcoin's below there, I do look for Bitcoin to try, do a little bit sideways and do a little bit of downside. Coming to these events as this fly flies around me. You bastard, how dare you? Anyways, I think that is going to do it for this particular video. Not much else on top of that. Yeah, not much else. Not much else here. So I think I will shut it off right there. I want to take a second to wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.